Hi there. So I want to talk about a couple things. The first thing is in my summary of chapter 17, I don't think I went into this passage enough. Um, I missed an important thing about Friedrich's waves of crystallization. I think I need to clarify a little bit, although I don't know how far I can go with this because we really have to not go any further than the chapter does. So let me read the passage. If anyone else had asked, what is quality, it would have been just another question. But when he asked it, because of his past, it spread out for him like waves in all directions simultaneously, not in a hierarchic structure, but a concentric one. At the center, generating the waves, was quality. As these waves of thought expanded for him, I'm sure he fully expected each wave to reach some shore of existing patterns of thought, so that he had a kind of unified relationship with these thought structures. But the shore was never reached until the end, if it appeared at all. For him, there was nothing but ever-expanding waves of crystallization. So I kind of try to compare this with Jonathan Pageau's hierarchy or concentric hierarchy, where Christ is in the center, and we connect with the symbolic meaning of this hierarchy. And there are nodes there are nodes within the hierarchy, and that there's an underlying pattern and structure. And I don't think this is all what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is kind of the opposite. That he's seeing quality, and he's seeing that quality is something really significant, but it's not generating anything coherent that he can see in the world. It's not generating any kind of pattern. There is a pattern there's a pattern in which quality plays a role in its construction of the universe, basically. But Friedrich doesn't see this at this point, and this is important because this is the process. He hasn't come to this point. He hasn't come to the point where he sees that. Now there are quality patterns, and we'll talk about this. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. But there isn't a coherent pattern that quality creates. The pattern is like is in the creation. And Friedrich is not at the point where he's seeing this, but he's starting to get to the point where he will. So the second thing I want to talk about is Dennis Davis, who's making the film Piercing's Journey, sent me this great picture of the Bozeman Opera House. And he said, pick your brick and write about it. It's a great cure for writer's block. So you can't actually visit the Opera House, and it says City Hall on there. It was sort of a civic center, and the Opera House was within this building that served multiple purposes. But you can't visit it because it was torn down over a period of time, brick by brick, beginning in 1965, and it's too bad they didn't save the bricks and sell them like the soon-to-be popular pet rocks as devices to get over creative blocks. So this whole brick thing, it reminds me of the great naturalist Louis Agassiz, who would give his students a dead fish to study. And he would instruct them to examine the fish for days on end. And after the students got over their resentment of having to study a putrid dead fish, because they thought they knew enough about it after a few minutes, they didn't. They really learned a thing or two about nature and how, nature constructs entities in the world. I also want to talk about what I'm ultimately trying to do, and that is trying to find a way to take Piercing's work and use it therapeutically, spiritually, to use it to improve our relationship with reality in, I guess, a codified way, so, I can actually do it for myself and help people to do it in my profession and maybe other ways. And what's emerging, and I'll probably explore this more in the future when I do a Lila reading, which I do intend to do in a few months after we're finished with Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, is the problem of taking the problem is taking that awareness of quality that exists, that is always there, and how do we recognize it without being subverted by self-deception? And remember that the same machinery that affords relevance realization, which is, seems to be parallel to this detection, to this stimulus of quality, can be prone to parasitic processing, can be prone to thinking something is more relevant than it is, or thinking the wrong thing is relevant, thinking a very shallow thing is relevant, and using that as a foundation for our understanding of reality. And that is a problem. This is, of course, Vervaeke's work. So the thing is, we all carry around different boxcars. Remember the boxcar analogy, the cutting edge of the train is quality leading us on the track of quality, but we all carry around different boxcars full of different stuff, different cultural influences, socioeconomic status, etc., on down the line. But there are static patterns of value. There are things that have value in the world that are created. They're on all levels, from inorganic all the way up to intellectual. And how do we detect these quality patterns, and how do we detect quality itself? Ultimately, all spiritual practices and all practices of this nature, I'm going to use the word spiritual. Maybe I should use the word searching for sacredness, or connecting with sacredness, connecting with the real world. Everything comes down to some form of in-the-moment meditative awareness. So practices will be very important. There was a great NPR podcast, I guess it was about a week ago, called Deep Work. And this is a computer scientist who says that this is something we no longer do. We no longer concentrate on a fish or concentrate on a brick like we did in the past. And this is really a deficit. And I think this is an element. This is an element to integrate into whatever I'm doing here, looking for how to impart a quality existence. And what he said was, it's necessary for us to take back this way of understanding, this way of knowing. Participatory knowing, I guess, is one good way to put it. Maybe all three kinds of knowing. But it's a very deep connectedness to whatever you're doing. And he says that distraction, which is an epidemic, is more detrimental than we think it is. Because every time you get distracted, you have to restructure, and you go back to your thing, and you're not doing it as well as you were before you were distracted. So everyone today has ADHD. I have it. I can tell the difference between how I am now versus before all this social media stuff. So we know what the problem is. And so I guess addiction treatment for all of us is going to be part of these practices. Finally, I'll have chapter 18 tomorrow, but I'm going to be out of town the following Sunday, so I won't have 19 for 2 weeks. And I will once again be without the internet. It's going to be an interesting experience, which I will definitely share. I hope I can adequately take pictures without, I don't think there's going to be any electricity, so I don't know about phone charging. It's going to be close to the ZAM route, so I'm hoping to at least visit one city that's on the route, and I'll be back with the report. So thanks for watching. I hope that made sense, and I will see you tomorrow for chapter 18.